Welcome back to the Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast. We are back today with a topic that surprisingly a lot of people have asked about: certifications. What kind of certifications should I focus on? What should I go get depending on what I want to do when I grow up, basically? So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the certifications that we, in our opinion, are good certifications depending on where you're starting, what you're focusing on, whether that is, hey, I'm trying to be a SOC analyst, I'm trying to get into GRC, I'm trying to do cloud, I'm trying to do pen testing, whatever it is. We will give you our opinions on what you should focus on. That's the focus of today's episode.
Yep, that's it. Well, I think I'll cover at least the fundamentals. And we talked about this with Ed Scotus. He talked about this specifically because I asked him, I said, hey, what would you recommend if people ask you, how do you get into cybersecurity? And, he's like, you got to know your network, you got to know your operating systems, you got to know the fundamentals, you got to know how those core pillars that I've talked about, right? You've got your operating systems, you've got your network, you've got your application, your developer, your scripting, and then really now there might be a fourth pillar over here hiding out, the AI pillar. You got to add these things into it. I think it's really going to be fundamental going forward. So yeah, I think that if you start out with the fundamentals in mind before you get to the security, you don't have to, but I think it makes more sense when you understand those basics of those things that I just talked about. What do you think, Steve?
No, I completely agree. So I'm curious to hear what certifications you think will achieve that for, our listeners.
Yeah, I think, if you're starting out at 0, 0, and you're like, I can turn a computer on, right? Then you need something like the A plus certification. And I think CompTIA does a good job of giving you a foundation of a lot of things, and specifically IT and security, which we'll get there. But I think A plus, there's the two exams, the core one, core two. You combine those together. We've talked about those before and how they give you the understanding of troubleshooting, operating system. They give you the scenarios that you're being called in to help fix a problem. What do you need to know? Right? A little bit of networking. I think all those are good to get you to a point where you kind of get it, right? That's not all ethereal. What is it? What would I do if this happened? What would I do if that happened? And you might already have some of that, and that's okay. You can kind of evaluate the criteria and the curriculum to see if you need anything in there, and you can always just beef that up if you need to without having to go full A plus. But if you really are starting at the scratch at 0, it will be good to have the A plus certification. I got my A plus certification like a very long time ago when it was a way version different, but it was very helpful for me to have that. And from there, I felt like I was ready to go get a basic desktop support job and could go do some troubleshooting and help build computers and replace parts and things like that. And it was very helpful. So I think that's one thing. I think on top of that, if you build onto, and this is what I mentioned what Ed said, is your network fundamentals, the Network Plus or something like the Network Plus. Everything runs on the network, and you need to be able to understand not every little detail, but you need to understand it well so that when you're in security or wherever you are, you know how it works. You know how TCP/IP works. You know how those protocols work. You know when you see 3389, what that port is, right? You need to know what port 23 is for, right? You need to be able to see that as you're thinking about the big network and how to not just troubleshoot it, but how you're connecting the dots, how things flow across the network. I think outside of that, um, Windows, there's not a lot of great Windows certs that I was looking at, and maybe you saw something, but I haven't found one that I'm like, this is the perfect Windows certificate. But Linux, there's several, and my opinion, I would really recommend that you do get a Linux, at least training. You may not need the full cert, but it won't hurt to get like the Linux Plus. Again, back to CompTIA, I think it doesn't have to be that. It could be the the other certificates that are out there, but a Linux cert says you can feel comfortable at the command line. You can feel comfortable being able to understand if I need to run these terminal programs or run a bash script or troubleshoot Linux. You can get that because that's probably, I mean, Windows is complicated too, but if you're doing things, a lot of times you come back to that level of command line functionality. So I think a Linux cert will be helpful. It would be my recommendation, just do it, knock it out. And then now you've built that level up of competency. So when you do build on top of it, you're not starting, like, for example, if you started with a pen test cert, a lot of the tools they're going to use are Linux or run on Linux. And if you don't have that fundamental layer there, then now you're figuring out Linux at the same time you're trying to figure out security, right? Um, there are some AI certs out there, believe it or not. And I don't have enough information to kind of tell you which one's the best one, but CompTIA again has an AI one. It's like the AI fundamental cert. Check it out. I can't tell you if it's good or bad, but I think there's something to that. I think definitely having a general understanding of what is it, and how do you use it is good. There are more and more of these that are popping up. I think Google has their own AI cert. I don't know that you have to fully get certified, but look at the curriculum, look at the learning. Maybe you take a course that's pretty easy, but you have that understanding, again, the fundamentals of what is it? How do I use it? What's the difference between one and another? And it's not just the magic box that you get things out of, right? Um, so I think that covers most of everything. And then I think it's good to pick something that's like Python or PowerShell and or both, and pick a training at least that gives you some level of proficiency in both of those. I think if you do that, then now you've got your scripting and a little bit of programming that you can build from, that you're not just relying on AI to write code for you. I think that would help a lot too. And then you can just kind of build from there. You can keep going deeper. And we'll come back to this. Another thing Ed said that I really liked, he said you could pick something for a month, go deep for a month, dive deep, and then bounce from there, because you can get burnt out too.
Yeah, no, I agree with absolutely everything you said. The only thing I would say is I was doing some research on AI stuff and certificates and even training. And some of the stuff that, I mean, even when I do my research, I look to see what other people that I trust say, right? And what other people are recommending and what other people are promoting, and then do my research from there. And one of the things that I just felt a little unsure about was there seems to be just AI is the hot topic right now, right? AI is the hot topic, and there's just a lot of things that are being thrown out there. And I didn't feel comfortable enough to say, I recommend you take this, because things are changing so fast. There's just things are just people. Look, I'm not saying everybody's like this, but some people are just trying to make a quick buck. And even organizations like even CompTIA and other organizations like that, they know that, hey, AI is the hot topic right now. Let's throw something out there. And I haven't taken any of this training myself, so I can't personally say I took it. I learned so much. I vetted it. I trust it. So I just say be cautious. It is the hot topic right now. I am sure there are stuff out there that is worth it. That, hey, if you're listening to this and you say, hey, Steve, John, I've taken this and I truly liked it and I enjoyed it and I learned something, please shoot it to us in the comments. Let us know. But with the quick research I did, I just couldn't find something that I would say I have this. I put my stamp of approval on this. So I was curious if you had anything, which it sounds like kind of the same boat. But other than that, like, listen, learning the fundamentals, A plus. And this is not sponsored by CompTIA or anybody. Okay, we're just literally talking about certifications that we know, that we have experience with, that we see as hiring managers as well, in position descriptions and just things that stand out when we're hiring somebody. But anyway, I do agree with the fundamentals, the A plus, the network plus, the scripting. Linux, Windows, I agree, but still, I feel like a lot of people grow up on a Windows machine, so you kind of learn some stuff here and there. But if there is anything specific that's more in depth to Windows, absolutely, I would recommend that as well. But yeah, I mean, I thought you did great hitting all the basic fundamental stuff. So moving on to, what are some of the things that I would recommend someone focus on if they are trying to become a SOC analyst or a security analyst, just entry level cybersecurity work. Obviously, the number one, I mean, the daddy of all the entry level certs, CompTIA Security Plus. I mean, it's just so well known and it does a pretty good job. It does a good job of just getting you introduced into what cybersecurity could be, touching on a lot of different areas, different domains within cybersecurity to give you an idea of like, hey, this is what it would be. Now, there are others on here that are a little bit more hands-on. This one is literally just book smarts, I call it, right? It's just a lot of learning, repetition, memorization type of stuff, even to take the certification. But it holds a lot of weight. It holds a lot of weight in the workforce right now when you're applying to positions. A lot of position descriptions have it. A lot of HRs are familiar with it. So it just carries a lot of weight. And it's just the entry level cert for cybersecurity. So it's definitely one you have to go after. Your thoughts on that, John?
No, I think that's good. I can't really argue with that. And I do think it is good. I do think it is a good certificate and covers the fundamental basics to help build on again, but for security specifically.
Yep, absolutely. So I had on here the other two was another CompTIA one, the CISA Plus one. So this focuses on specifically SOC related tasks. You're going to be doing a lot of threat detection, incident triage, incident response. It builds on the Security Plus. It's literally designed for security analysts, for SOC roles. Like you will be learning and going through the steps of things that you will actually do in your day-to-day job, which is why I have it on here. Focus heavily on SIM analysis, log monitoring, threat hunting, you name it. It is basically what you're going to do while you're in your job. The other third one I had on here was the Blue Team Level 1. So if you haven't checked that out yet, check it out. It is, again, very practical, very focused on real world defensive security. So it is hands on. It is way more hands on than the previous two. So that is also why I like it. And I know a few people who have actually gone through the training, have gotten the certification, and they came out feeling way more confident in what the day-to-day life is of a blue team member. Um, so yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, I was thinking about again about the SANS roadmap. I really like that as an idea when you're not sure what you should do next. Yes, if you have the money, SANS is great. I mean, I got my start with SANS certificates, SANS training. I think it is very good. It is top notch. It's not cheap, but use the roadmap. If you go Google SANS cybersecurity skills roadmap, it gives you a great breakdown of fundamentals for security. And they have literally security essentials is like one of the courses. Then you've got the monitoring detection, the blue team. It's literally colored blue, right? And that's like network detection, threat detection, those kind of things. But you don't, if you can't take that class, just think of, okay, I want to focus on like the CISA plus, right? It's focused on blue team. Okay, then you've got the red team section, like fundamentals of penetration testing, things like that. SANS 504. Those are great. Well, if you can't do that, then find something that's similar. Again, spread it out a little bit to kind of see what you like. I'll come back to one I would recommend for offensive security, but then it goes into incident response and threat hunting, a little bit more advanced blue team like middleware. You know, it's actually great in here. How to do forensics and things like that, right? That's a skill that it takes a lot to get good at. And then there's like that's tier one, and then you move up to the next more advanced tiers of those things. But if you look at that roadmap, you can be like, okay, well, I did some blue team stuff. You know, now I'm gonna go do some red team stuff. Okay, great. Now I'm gonna go do some threat hunting stuff. and more deep dive into forensic stuff. You can just kind of bounce around there and use that roadmap as a general idea of where am I weak, where am I strong, what can I work on in the whole security framework. What I'll say about offensive stuff, and just another thing to look at, is TCM, right? What you get for TCM for the dollar value is, in my opinion, very, very good. You could really sign up and
Yep.
take all these courses in a year and get certified. And I don't think your return on investment is worth it. They have several free classes you can go take. They have an AI fundamentals class, they have a Linux fundamentals, they have a help desk class, practical security fundamentals, programming fundamentals, and even soft skills for a free class. And then they have they're kind of shaded more toward the offensive security. I have done I think it's like the practical ethical hacking. Yes, I've done that course. Great. I like it because it's a lot of hands-on. It's not just book knowledge. It's actually getting you to do things and walking you through how to do those things. In my opinion, anything that helps you walk through and do, not just read, is better.
Yeah.
You need the book knowledge, but if you can get to the point where you're shading that, even as you're doing the book knowledge, you can shade into the things that you can do in your lab or in a course. That's going to be my preference. But I really like TCM. I mean, it's changed a little bit. The ownership's changed a little bit, but still the content is solid. The price per course is very reasonable, right? So something to consider.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I had them on my list actually for penetration testing, ethical hacking certifications. I had their practical network penetration tester for TCM because it is so hands on. And with something like offensive security, you need hands on. Like in order to be successful and really pick up the stuff. I mean, I don't know how people learn out there. I'm a doer. I got to do the thing to learn it. I also had the CompTIA Pen Test Plus. I had that on my list as well as something you could take a look at to get your feet wet and to learn if offensive security is something that interests you. One that I kept seeing come up over and over and over and over again when I was doing my research was this EJPT one, which was very super beginner friendly, hands on. It's focused on methodology, but also like practical exploitation. And it was ranked very high by a number of people that I reached out to and view their feedback on certifications. One that I left on here was the Certified Ethical Hacker certification because I know John loves this one. But this is a good example of what, unfortunately, when you are applying for positions, the people on the other side, like HR or even some of these hiring managers, they're not keeping up with a lot of these new certifications and a lot of these new things that are coming up and that are very solid and strong and actually teach people the skills that they need. They are relying on what has been here the longest and what is known. In
Mhm.
my opinion, and I think John would agree, certified ethical hacker is not that good of a certification for you to have. If your focus is to get into offensive security penetration testing, I personally don't believe that that is where you should focus or put your money into. Now, people may say, and some recruiters watching this may be like, ooh, but that's like one of the top ones out there. If you're going into government work, if you're trying to do like defensive work, DoD 3-letter agency work, like they have that on the list, and it's a check the box for HR and all of these different recruiters and stuff. I get it, but that's where you kind of have to see the difference, right? One is, am I doing this certification because I'm actually going to learn what the heck I'm going to be doing? Or am I doing this certification because this certification is well known, has been around for so long, may not be the best to teach me what I want to learn, but it will open doors just because it has established itself at that level. And I personally think this certification has established itself with some organizations and some areas where it does carry weight. So it could still open doors for you, but it may not be one of the first ones that I would say, go get this if you're trying to learn how to actually be an offensive security professional.
Yeah. So, I mean, I took the course a long time ago. I was definitely not impressed at that time. Maybe they've improved in what they do and how they teach. And I'm looking at the modules here. It's all fine. I don't see anything that I would disagree with what they include in the modules. But my experience at that time was very, very high, shallow and more tool specific. Oh, use this tool, and then you got to use this tool, and then you got to use this tool, and you got to use this tool, versus the methodology, the thought process, how you're doing a penetration test, why you use that tool over this tool. Like it was just, in my opinion, a shallow, high level view of tool overload. Here's every tool you can think of, and not why this tool is the right tool at the right time. So maybe it's changed. I don't know, but that was my experience. Again, it's been a while. But if somebody came to me and they said, "Oh man, I got my CEH," I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, tell me about why it was good," and then maybe
Yeah.
they can convince me otherwise.
Well, hey, if you're listening to this and you have a different opinion or you have a different experience or anything, please share it in the comments. Let us know. Again, these are our opinions. And yeah, we'd love to hear if you've had better experience with it. So let us know.
Yeah.
Moving on to some GRC certifications. For this, it was kind of, back to the basics. I mean, CompTIA Security Plus was one that I would say you have to get that to kind of get a good understanding of where you're going to start. I also saw where there was a lot of recommendations for the ISC squared certified cybersecurity certification,
Hmm.
just because again, that's very beginner friendly, covers a lot of security fundamentals and governance, and it is a little bit focused more on governance, risk and compliance. So that was a good starter other than the security plus. And then, going out and doing some GRC certifications that are a little more hands-on that will give you an idea of what GRC work is actually like. Maybe things that you would do day in and day out, not just theory, not just book smarts, but kind of gives you examples and kind of has you walk through some of the things that you will actually do as a GRC professional. And one of the ones from our friend Jerry, Simply Cyber, he's got a good GRC training program that you can check out, and everything that we've listed here we'll share in the description. But yeah, that is kind of where I'm at with GRC. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I would throw in there the ISACA, the C risk as well. I haven't taken it, but I've heard some folks we talked to said it was good and very helpful from a GRC and risk perspective. So I would recommend that one too.
Yeah, perfect. Now, the last area that we want to talk about is cloud security. So this is a very important area. We are doing a lot of work ourselves in this area in our day jobs. So one of the things that I would say is I was actually asked. I was like, "Hey, Steve, what do you recommend in terms of what cloud certification should I go after? Should I focus more on AWS? Should be more Azure? Should I be Google? Like what should I focus on? Or should I do a little bit of both?" And honestly, in a perfect world, I would tell someone if you are able to do a little bit of both, at least the top two, which in my opinion are AWS and Azure. Do a little bit of both. Know the basics for both, but then choose one and focus on that one heavily, and then take your career down that route. That's what I would recommend someone to do. Now, I would say, in my opinion, and, John, let me know what you think. I would say AWS is probably the route I would take just because, from what I've seen, it's just it's just the big daddy when it comes to cloud. Now, I mean, I think Azure's putting up a fight, Microsoft's putting up a fight, and depending on what industries you work in, and you might be heavier AWS, heavier Azure. It might depend. I know we are technically using both. We're using one for one specific thing, one for the other, but we're using them both. And our guy who we have is in charge for both areas. So he needs to know a little bit of AWS and a little bit of Azure. So I would say if you are able to learn a little bit of both, at least those two, in my opinion, that would make you a very valuable individual. But I would say at some point you want to focus on just one and become an expert of one. And if you ask me right here, right now, I would say become an expert in AWS.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think maybe you try a little bit of each one, and maybe there's one you just like better, right? Maybe you like the way Microsoft does it versus the way that AWS does it, and you like the way that they use and the terminologies and just that structure. You have a preference based off of trying each one. That would be my recommendation. I do think AWS seems to be the more popular, but there's a lot of people that use Azure too. Um, and if you like it, go that route. Go deep. Like I said, pick one, go a month in, see what you think, and then you can bounce from there. I wanted to share real quick my screen for I came across somebody shared this with us, and I shared it in our school community. But this humble bundle program, man, I ended up buying it because of the value, but it has so many different things. It's almost way too many, honestly. And you can buy different bundles of it, but they have AWS, like 5 different certificates in AWS. They've got like 5 different certificates for Azure, a few certificates for Google. They've got CompTIA A plus. They've got Security Plus. They've got CISA Plus. Um, it's got a lot in here. They even got offensive security. It's got Linux Plus. It's got AI. It's got Red Hat. I mean, it's got a ton of stuff that's, like I said, it's almost too much. But you can choose kind of pay what you want, and you get all this. You get all this training, and you get practice tests bundled in to take for each certificate. So you could pay for this and then try each course out and see what you think. Oh, let me go try the AWS. Let me go run through that, hunt and peck it, right? And then you have it for life. So you can go back if you need just as a reference, use it as a reference. You could go back in here. I'm gonna go watch that video on whatever that topic is. They've even got, like I said, mentioned offensive security. They've got Pen Test Plus as well in here. It's a ton of stuff for what you can get in this bundle, the Humble Bundle. So if you like it, if you think it's interesting, take a look at it. It goes to a good cause, Girls Who Code. So there you go. You're also helping a good cause. But for the what you get out of it, it's pretty good. So that's the kind of thing you can do, and maybe check these different paths out. But they have a good mixture in this of pretty much everything that we talked about. A plus is in here. Server plus is in here. So you won't have a lack of things. There's not a lack of paths. There's not a
Yeah.
lack of things to study. It's just the commitment to do it and going into it and sticking with it until you level up to a certain level. You don't have to stay with it forever, but then you got to, keep building, keep building.
Absolutely, I agree. And one thing I want to say again, these are our opinions, right? We will link everything for each one of these sections in our description. And it's also, you can find more information about this in our school community. If you haven't joined, check it out. It's completely free. But one thing I will say, right? Certificates only get you so far. You have to continue to, put in the work, put in the heavy lifting, and, definitely pair certificates with actual training, whether it's building your own home lab or working within your home lab, doing things like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, and other training platforms like that. It's a combination of all of those things that will get you into the right setting. Make sure that you are prepped, confidence level, making sure that you're putting the reps in like John says all the time. It's a combination of all those things. Just certifications alone will not get you the job. We know that, we've seen that. You have to go above and beyond. So it's a combination of all of these things that will help you in the end land that dream job that you're wanting, that you're looking for. So that is it. I mean, anything else from you, John?
Nope. I think you said it great. Just tie this into practical experience. Keep working on these things as you learn them. Try to bake that into what you can do on the keyboard, right? I definitely recommend that.
Absolutely. So if you have any questions about what we went over, if you want to get more in depth, ask us some questions, shoot us a message, join our school community. It's completely free. Other than that, we want to hear from you. If you guys disagree, if you guys have other thoughts, other recommendations, please share them, comment on this video. We'd love to hear it because we're also learning and you might have gone through a different experience, and all that is important because it could help someone when you least expect it. So with that, thank you all for tuning in. Until next time.
See ya.